So that is a club that a lot of you don't have in the golf bag, I reckon. If you're like me, not many of you have even tried it. It is the PXG Lightning 11 wood. I have no idea where this fits in the bag. Should it be in the bag? Is this going to be the easiest fairway wood that I've ever hit? Well, we're going to find out very soon on TrackMan. Let's get over there. How far does an 11 wood go? What kind of club does it replace in the bag? And like I said, should it be in mine? Okay, first thing you'll notice, that ball goes up into orbit. Let's see what it does in terms of distance. We've hit a couple of balls you can see in the orange dots on the right hand side, very similar to what we've just achieved. So 167 carry, that's been pretty consistent in and around that sort of 170 mark. That's my first barometer. Then we look at ball speed relative to club head speed. That's super efficient. 120 ball speed off 86 club head speed is performing incredibly well. And then what we've got is a land angle of 50 degrees and spinning at 6.2. Now then, what is this club in terms of loft? Well, it's 27 degrees. Now we've got some strong lofted 7 irons that fit into that category. But if we're looking a bit down a more standard route, probably a 6 iron equivalent. So distance wise, that's probably in and around, maybe a little bit longer than my equivalent 6 iron. But what I'm not doing with a 6 iron, I'm not getting 6,200 reps of spin. I'm not getting a ball speed of 120 mile an hour. And I'm certainly not getting a land angle of 50.6. And before I hit the next shot, I'll also change that tab which says launch direction, because we want to know what the launch angle is. And I'll confirm that to you later. But if you think what we've just seen on screen, we know that that ball is going up and extremely high. So why is that important? Well, dead simply, we as average golfers, and sort of maybe even as we get older, we start to swing the club a bit slower. And we start to lose things. We start to lose ball speed, but we also start to lose that launch angle. And therefore, we start to lose carry distance because the ball's not in the air long enough, and so on and so forth. So these clubs are hugely important, I think, for average golfers, certainly for the slower swing speed golfers. See if we can get that one down the left a bit more, or back into centre at least. Have we gone too far left now? Bit more effort with that one. We hung on left hand side of the screen. That's going to be a longer carry, but I definitely swung the club a little bit faster, a bit more aggressively. So we've tipped it up there to a 178 carry, maintained things like spin rate 5.2, ball speed, like I said, jumped up again because of that extra club head speed, but that land angle remains at 47.1 degrees. So all these things put together mean that the ball is launching high, it's landing steeply, it's got spin on it as well. So if you're coming in at a 170, 175 green, then this ball is going to stop for you. I said in previous video when we looked at the 9 wood, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have to consider what type of course they play, what type of conditions they play. If you're on a links course, is the obvious one. In windy conditions, the likelihood is this club ain't going to be no good for you. But for a lot of average golfers, as I've just stated, a lot of things we struggle with are eradicated or helped, assisted by the benefits of this type of club. You've then got to talk about things like this weighting system. I will briefly mention it. Like I said, the Lightning range in itself looks fantastic, but it's, you know, that's a subjective opinion. I don't really want to get drawn into that. You know, I'm a fan of PXG. No, don't try and hide that fact. But what I'm maybe more a fan of than anything is the weighting system that they introduced into their driver, fairway woods, hybrids as well. And this basically means these weights can be switched around in your custom fit process to help you dial this club in to meet your swing type, help you, assist you. And that can be to eradicate or eliminate, reduce, not eliminate, reduce things like maybe a fade or a cut. Maybe you're hooking it too much. You can start to shift these weights around pretty significantly to make a big difference, and that's usually important. But maybe in a club like this, you can also start to alter ball flight as well. So you might want to drop that spin, you might want to drop that launch, and by being able to move these weights around and position them in ways which will assist, then that can be a massive benefit. I love the fact they've added this club to the bag. Again, for me, it's that what the question I'm asking myself of what am I comparing it to? What am I taking out of the bag? What am I losing? And like I said, is this a 6 iron equivalent? Then I'm looking at, well, 27 degrees hybrid wise, what's that? Maybe a 5 hybrid. Would I rather use a 5 hybrid or a fairway wood? Which do I like the look of? At address, that's a key point for me. It's all about confidence when I stand here. I love the look of this thing. I mean, I don't feel as though I could miss with it, and that's probably when I'm about to miss with it. I mean, I have not swung the club that confidently with the camera on, I'll be honest with you. I feel like I can rip this thing as well. I've got a Diamana 60 gram stiff, yeah, it is 60 gram stiff shaft for those who are interested, and it's something that I feel like I said I could play a number of ways, hugely versatile, once again back in that 178 carry distance. It's interesting. I'm going to make reference to, I've got some numbers that we can have a look at shortly, which are an overview that I hit off screen. The one thing that has surprised me a little bit is this 11 wood is going almost as long as what I was hitting the 9 wood, which is a bit of a surprise, I must admit. Not quite as long, don't get me wrong, but for me it will be an either or situation, and maybe not part of my gap in where I'd look to put a 9 and an 11 wood in the bag. Let's finish things off with a very brief look at the numbers, but from what I've seen so far, this kind of club is the type of club that should be more and more popular in the years ahead. There's definitely a sway. We've seen Tommy Fleetwood with a 9 wood in the bag. All of a sudden average golfers think that, do you know what, if Tommy's got one in, maybe it's good enough for me as well. Well, the 11 wood is also going to fall into that category, and you need to give it some careful consideration. And the PXG lineup of Lightning fairway woods, the fact they've gone from 3 wood all the way up to 11 wood, I think is going to be a massively popular move. Let's finish off with, I don't know, a minute's worth of data for those who are interested. Right, let's make this short and sweet. Just a little bit slower off camera when we were collecting the data, which explains, let's go through the averages. 84 mile an hour club head speed, whereas on camera we were creeping up to 87, a little bit more adrenaline, a little bit more, well, trying to hit the ball well, I suppose. But anyway, 116 ball speed, 170 carry, let's call it, with a 4.7 spin. Land angle remained consistent, as did the launch angle of 22.1. I said that thing was going up high. Peak height averaging 111 feet. That is extremely high, and like I said, one consideration that could be suggested as a negative for some golfers in certain conditions. But overall, trying to find, well, let's have a look at, well, we'll scroll down because I've got the 9 wood numbers on here as well. 9 wood was a 179 carry, and the 8 wood as I've put, because it doesn't even contain data for the option of an 11 wood on TrackMan right now. That shows how many of these things are about. Anyway, so it suggests 8 wood, trust me it was an 11, 168.8. So there's a good 10-yard gap in there in terms of the TrackMan data off camera. And like I said, you start to see just these things of, the 9 wood was incredibly good as well, but you start to see the land angle changes, the peak height changes, the launch angle changes. So they're two very different clubs in terms of their overall attributes, but both of them do one thing particularly well, and that's launch the ball high. Massively a huge assistance, massively positive in my opinion for average golfers. You've then got ball speeds for slower swing speeds, and that's because again the mass in that club head that 9 woods have and 11 woods have, fairway woods have, over the likes of hybrids and over irons, so again hugely beneficial. I'm not saying you put one of these in your bag, I'm not saying you put a 9 wood in the bag, but we've started to see sort of 7, 9, 11 woods, that is 5 woods as well, becoming more and more popular. More golfers recognising the benefits rather than the negatives, and I think more and more bags are seeing more head covers in there and less irons. That's certainly been the case with my bag, and it's something that I think more and more golfers are going to change to over the next year or two, where it becomes a little less of a stigma attached to having those sort of clubs in your bag. Anyway, that's my thoughts. You let me know yours in that comment section down below. Hope you enjoyed it. We've tried to keep these kind of videos very much analytical, based on data and a bit of factual as well. PXG Lightning range is incredibly good. Go and check it out, and I'll see you in a day or two's time when we have another breakdown of another golf product that's been released right now, because there's a lot going on. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.